So, welcome everyone. So this workshop is going to be about Escher, the UI library that I made. Let me see if, okay, so it seems that I don't have internet connection. It's a problem with my laptop, but that's okay. So to install Escher, you just need to run pkg.add Escher. I just tagged a new release like 5 minutes ago. So you should get 0.1.0. So the version number is still 1.1 because it's still like a work in progress, and it's sort of like a culmination of all these ideas that I've been mulling over the past year about how the web can be abstracted. So, has everyone got Escher installed? There you have. So there's this examples directory inside Escher. If you just cd to it and then run Escher --serve, you should get the server running. It's okay. The GNU TLS, I'm not actually using HTTPS. So and then if you go to /slideshow.jl, it'll take a while because it's loading Gadfly. You should get my slideshow in a while.
Could you repeat how to sort of get your slides on? I didn't quite understand what you were beginning.
Cool. 1 second.
You need to go to your .affiliate directory.
So that's the directory you need to go to.
Then what commands do you use there?
Bin, and then Escher.
Oh, right. So the Escher binary is in Escher/bin. So you might need to say, if you're in examples directory, you say /bin/Escher-serve. That is because I can run Escher because I have this in my path. So you can also specify the port you want to run the server in. It seems like okay, that's better. So the sizes of the windows are different here. Okay, so that's the command I wrote, serve -- port 5556. So that will bring up another server inside. Oh, well. Oh, it seems I didn't actually check in the slideshow. This is weird. I don't actually know what happened to my slideshow. So I just oh well. Let me just figure this out. Sorry about that. Yeah, it seems to have gone from my local file system as well. This is extremely weird. Oh wait, I was in the what? I'm actually doing git reflog. Okay, it's the same. It's pretty much the same slideshow as I had for the talk. So I guess I'll just skip it and just start making a new. Okay, so let's just start building things in Escher instead of looking for the slideshow. So, okay, there are more people coming. That's great. So,
That's where the I haven't had anything.
so I'm actually going to make the slideshow and like put it in there sometime later. But so for those who came late, so you just need to do a pkg.add Escher. There's a new version. If you have Escher, just do a pkg update. And go to this directory and then run an Escher server by saying bin/escher/serve, and then you can also set the port to 5557 or any port you want. So I'm just so let me know after the server is running, after everyone's got the server running. Yeah. Cool. How many of you did get it to work? I did get it to work, like pkg.add Escher. Oh, okay. Please.
We should be on version 0.3, right?
It does not matter.
I recommend it.
Okay, I'm just going to walk around and you have it? So pkg.update. I just tagged a new version like 5 minutes ago. You have it? Yeah. Can you walk around and see if everyone's got it?
Still updating.
Oh.
Hey,
Hey.
I
Yeah.
just I did this, but I didn't get.
Oh, sorry, the slash was a mistake over
The
there.
slash was a mistake. Okay, so
Wait for a while, yeah.
yeah, this is this right?
Hmm? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's bin Escher serve.
No, don't do source.
Oh, sorry, I don't know why I did that. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
Last
yeah,
command.
that's it, yeah.
Escher serve.
Yeah.
Julia, not a directory.
Oh. So if you're on a Mac, you may not have like, you may be using the DMG version of Julia. So if you're on a Mac, the steps are, hi. Yeah.
I keep this when I try and
What happened?
so I do this right. And then
Yeah, you have to say dash serve. I'm just going to write it on the whiteboard. Is there chalk somewhere? Okay. So go to .julia whatever. So v 0.x. Go here and then say /bin/ Escher, which is the binary serve. And you can optionally say port. If you want to start a second one, you can start another. So I recommend having two because one of them might crash and you can just switch to the other one. So if you are on a Mac with a DMG installation of Julia, then you need these steps. So in the Julia REPL, type. So if you go to the Escher website, which is okay, I'll just write it out. So let me see if I can remember this. Oh. And then, yeah. Oh my God. And then oh wait, this should be the other way around. sorry. And you have to say, so it's on the website, if you can get there. So you can just copy paste from there. So if you want to give a different port number, that goes here. Just, yeah. That's the default. So this should bring up a server.
Are those two equivalent?
So yes, yes. But if that works, only if that works, basically. So there is no slideshow. So just go to the examples directory and open a file called demo.jl in your favorite editor. And then, so how many people are set up with this stuff? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Remember when I asked you it's not set up? Maybe
Oh, I shouldn't use master.
Huh?
Should I use master of Escher? It seems like not.
Why? What happened?
I got like it's like freaking out about patch mark.
Oh shit. Okay.
Maybe I shouldn't use master. Oh, I shouldn't have used.
Use master of everything.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you do a pkg.update?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because I tagged a new release.
Like a charm. Nothing went wrong. It was really smooth.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So, who else needs help with this? No one? You do? Okay. Range 1 not fine. Okay, so that's lazy. So just check out lazy. pkg.checkout. Yeah, lazy.
Which version of Julia are you running?
0.4.
I think GNU TLS is not working on mine.
Okay, just check out GNU TLS.
Okay. Otherwise, I guess I can just follow it.
Where's demo.jl supposed to be?
It's not supposed to be there. You're going to create it.
Oh.
So do you have a version 3?
I'm on version 3 now.
0.3. Oh, okay.
Build or should I just run Escher?
What is your Julia path? What is the Julia in your Julia path? Is it
0.3.6.
in your path? Okay.
Oh, in my path?
Oh, that seems right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should have worked.
Oh, it's fine. I can just run it.
Okay. This is the DMG version of. Do you have Julia in your path?
I have a homebrew.
Okay.
Homebrew.
Okay.
Yes.
If you just go to the URL, you can copy this stuff and paste it.
I have.
So there's actually like more steps than required, I think.
Have you seen this error message before? Or should I file an issue with Homebrew? I think
I have no idea why this.
it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. That's build errors.
Are you set up?
Yeah, I'll wait. We're supposed to get this? You haven't?
Yeah.
Okay.
You haven't created. That's what we're going to do now.
Okay.
Awesome. So if you go to /minesweeper.jl, you can play Minesweeper. In the meantime, you can do that. So. No, you can implement that and send a PR.
Makes it much harder.
Yeah.
That thing was lazy. Is this the problem with lazy? Do I?
Yes.
So what do I do here?
pkg.checkout lazy. Yeah.
Oh, I just have to check it. Okay.
So the mux does not depend on the right version of lazy, so stuff breaks on 0.4.
Okay, alright. So I can update the replies or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Alright.
So can we get started? I guess we can. Okay, cool. So in the demo.jl file, just write this. So it's like function main window, and then return a string. If you return a string, you'll get the string on the screen. So the window argument is actually some metadata about the window. It contains like a signal which represents if the window is open or not. It contains a signal which represents the dimensions of the window as well. And you can load HTML assets by on the fly by doing this. So I'm going to load some LaTeX HTML assets, and then I'm going to create some tag over here. I don't know.
What determines the set of valid second arguments to that?
It's just they're just strings.
But which, I mean, how do you know which strings are valid?
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to explain that. I'm glad you asked. So it just loads any of these files. Oh, right. So there is a tech.html file over there. That's what got loaded when I. All right. So yeah, the first principles of Escher. So if I look at the type of this, it's going to tell me that it's a tech, which is the type of what it returned, and then I'm going to do a super on it, which will tell me it's a tile. So everything in Escher is a tile. If it's not a tile, Escher will try to convert it to a tile by just calling the right convert method. Okay, so then so what are the other things you can do? So there's this tile called empty, which is like the most important tile. It has nothing in it. And so to modify any tile in Escher, you call a function on it, and the function will return another tile. So in this case, I am resizing the empty tile to be 10 em and 10 em, but I can't still see it because it's still like not colored. So I'm going to fill it with some color. Let's say orange. Yeah. So I should see an orange box of this size. So instead of empty, I could have written some string, and it will do that. But okay, so let's call this box1. And make it smaller, and then you can create a new box with a different height this time. So it's only showing the box2. It's going to show what is returned from the main function. So it's now only showing the box2 function. So I'm going to color it green or something. So if you want to lay out things, the way you do that is using the hbox and vbox functions. So if I say hbox box1 comma box2, okay.
Can you reduce the size of your browser so that both the browser and your layer can stay together?
Okay.
Wait, why does HBox layer them on top of each other?
Oh, that's just a reload the page. Should get fixed. That's actually a bug.
That's a bug, okay.
Can you get it to reload on, to on top of each other?
Oh yes. I'm going to get there. So this is again a value like any other. So you can put this in vbox, in a vbox, which is going to put two of those on top of each other. So, and say you want to give some space between these two boxes in a hedge box, which is like the horizontal layout, you can say edge skip 1em. So you should get that gap between those two. And in a vbox, you can say vskip 1em, and you got that gap between the two. So this is like the basics of layouts. Now there are all these undocumented functions that you can use to, like align things properly. So now they got centered. So there's this pack across. So there are three kinds of packing. I'm just going to explain them. So that's the item-wise packing, which is like packing along the layout, along the direction of the layout. So space around will basically give equal amount of spaces around the boxes and lay them out like this. But it's going to be half the space on the sides. That's just how the spec is in the flexbox layout in CSS. You can give like centered. So they come in the middle. So the huge space in the middle was because of the edge skip that also got a spacing. Then there is pack. Oh, shit. Pack across, which is like across the axis of the layout. You can pack it across the axis of the layout. So if you want so the the axis along the layout is called the main axis, and the axis across the layout is called the cross axis. and when you're laying out, you can say axis end or axis start to lay out in the end or the start of the axis that you are laying out along. So back across axis end will in a H box will get the tiles to go to the end of the horizontal baseline, which is like the cross axis, end of the cross axis basically. So this is the default. This is always the default. So that pretty much lets you do everything you want to. Yeah, it does actually.
This is pretty cool because these sort of things in CSS is very difficult.
Yeah.
My question is does this work in sort of newer browsers with Flexbox, or is this?
Yeah, this is using Flexbox.
Okay.
It's implemented in pretty much all the newer browsers, and if it's not, so the Polymer will bring polyfills into it. So say you have a lot of these boxes and they start to go out of the screen, you want to wrap them. So you just say wrap, and they will start to come in new lines.
Did you resize the browser?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. So there is another kind of packing for packing lines. Let me see if I remember it. So items inside each line will be packed to the center. Now, if I do backlines center, yeah, this is like the comprehensive coverage of all layouting things there is in Escher. So let's try some typography. So this is just plain text. And this is Markdown. So Markdown is actually Julia's Markdown. If you're on 0.3, you have to say using Markdown, because that will get the Markdown package and you can use the MD string. So Markdown gets converted to tiles, basically. You can write any sort of Markdown you're used to, basically. So I'm just writing some code block here. Or you can inline tech. I think that works. But for the code to appear, you have to add the code mirror asset. Oh wait, what happened to the syntax highlighting?
Is that code mirror installed somehow? Or do you have it included?
Yeah, code mirror comes with Escher, so it's in the Bower components folder. This is weird. Okay, I think you need to do a. So I just. Oh shit! What am I doing? Oh, I don't have internet connection. Anyway, the newer Markdown has these fixes for headings. So right now it just looks like both are the same thing. So that's Markdown. If you want like nice looking titles, you can. There are these type scales, so you can go. Okay, right now I don't have internet connection, so my fonts look shitty. But if you do have internet connection, that should look like stunning. So let me show you a cool trick. So there is this function called intersperse. Okay. Using which you can intersperse some space between a list of things, which I am going to make. So let me see if that works. Okay, cool.
Did we figure out the code and everything? Not that it's not like crucial.
It does work, right?
Syntax highlighting?
Yeah, doesn't it?
No, I'm not getting it. Did anybody get a code? Syntax
What
highlighting?
did you push to the? You said was push window assets.
Push window assets, code mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, it's there.
So there's our GUI expert.
Yeah, I'm not getting it.
Not getting the syntax highlighting?
Yeah.
That's weird. What could be wrong? Can you try this? Yeah, now I'm getting it. So you can just do this. Yeah. What? So this is actually editable right now, but you can make it.
Super cool.
You can make it read only. I don't know why anyone would do that, but you just say this and wait, I need to relive. Yeah, I can't type anymore. So
Okay, yeah, I get syntax highlighting from just code mirror.
yeah,
Curious what that might do.
yeah, I'm curious too.
Does it need to be indicated that it's Julia code?
So you can no,
Because by
It-
default,
it-
indented
it's
code
Julia.
in Markdown is not Julia, right?
By default it just picks Julia.
Okay, we assume things are Julia.
Yeah. So if you want to change the language, you can do this. Okay, cool. So that's code mirror, and what else can you do? So if you so the padding thing is what I didn't show. You can just say pad and things get padded. So there's a nice padding around the code mirror now. So intersperse takes its first argument and then puts it in between each element of the second argument.
It doesn't do any.
No, it just returns a list. Yeah, it yeah.
Returns a list.
As in a vector of tiles. Yeah. and then I splat it to just put it in the VBox. I had a slideshow and I lost it, and this actually happened. Okay, what else do you want to do with Escher? Yeah. Yeah.
I assume that every browser that connects to the Escher server
Yeah.
is going to share the same global state.
Yes.
If I want to have multiple users who do not share global state,
Yeah.
what would I need to do?
So that's actually what I'm going to be working on for the next couple of months. So we have a plan, I and Amit, of giving this general kind of framework for you to decide if you want to spawn off a new process for a new user, or how many users do you want to share on each each instance of each process and stuff like that. But usually you can make your code secure, like unless you're doing eval somewhere from a code mirror object, then you should be fine. Okay, so you can now start to do plots. So Gadfly plots just get rendered into what happened. Oh, I don't have Gadfly installed. I do. I was just kidding. This did not happen. So I was just making sure the pkg.add Escher works. So I just, yeah, it takes time to load Gadfly the first time. If you precompile, it's fine. What was that? Let me just restart.
What about like embedding an image?
Oh, you can do that. There's this function called image. You can pass it a URL and you get the image. And you can size it like any other element. And if you do not specify the width, it will automatically scale it. If you just specify the height, for example, it will keep the aspect ratio. Yeah. What the hell?
Looking at like every event to think about it. Like how high a frame rate can I get from an every from reactive?
Oh.
If I could like get like 30 frames per second of like.
Yeah. So if you do a thing with 30 frames per second, you're going to talk to the server 30 times a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, 60 FPS works fine on my machine.
Yeah, like on the same machine, it's totally cool. But if it's on a server somewhere, then it's going to stream basically. So the delay will be in the beginning. If you do an animation, it still works,
Yeah.
but it starts late. Okay, so what happened to the plot? Oh, I'm not even sure anymore where I am. Okay, I just moved my entire .julia directory, so it's like, uh, sorry about that. What? Okay. Seriously? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. This is ridiculous. Okay, I'm just gonna. Hmm? Press E.
Exit out of the directory and go. CD equals go.
I'm just gonna restart. Huh? This is correct now?
Directory where you have GI.
I just closed everything.
Okay, fine. That's fine. Increase the size a little bit.
Increase the. Okay, sorry about that. Like technical difficulties. Um, so this is going to take a while because it's plotting.
So could you talk about the implementation a little bit? Or you basically
Yeah.
have a payload where you're sending down JavaScript that's establishing a WebSocket back to.
Yeah. So, sure. Okay. I think this is a good time to talk about it. So, so what happens is, I'm just going to write it on the white blackboard. So you have the tile type to begin with, or some X type which can be converted into to a tile, and then it gets, this is render. So there's a function called render which converts the tile into a thing called lm. This is from patchwork.jl. So if you Google patchwork.jl, you'll see this package. So what Patchwork does is it just represents this thing called DOM, document object model. So the DOM is the representation the browser itself uses to represent a page that is loaded. So it's a humongous data structure. So the tile gets converted into an LM, which is like the DOM, and then this gets serialized to JSON and then sent to the browser, where it becomes the actual DOM. So this is how it works. So I haven't explained how to like make interactive things, but that has like a.
The assets are prepended before you do the transition from LM to JSON, or before you.
So assets are loaded asynchronously. It does not depend on this pipeline. I mean, does not have anything to do with this pipeline. So there is a WebSocket connection between the client server and the client at all times. So the assets can, at any given time, just be sent over the WebSocket. I mean, it's actually just the path of the asset that is sent, and then the browser makes a request to that path and gets the assets. That way you can have caching, for example. And yeah, so I'm going to talk about the implementation in detail actually. So my aim is to like get you guys to contribute. So there you go. There's a plot. There's your plot. So I can put it in any other Escher composition, just like that. And then give it a padding. Okay, so now let's say you want to vary the phase of the plot for some reason using a slider. Slider. So I'm just going to add a slider to begin with to my UI. Yeah, there's nothing. So I can't see the slider because I need the widgets asset. Okay, there you go. The slider is now visible. So now I can vary the slider, but the plot is not updating because there is no way this code tells Escher that I need to update the plot when you vary the slider. So to do that, you need to use reactive. So reactive's documentation is available at. I'm just going to write. I'm going to explain how it works, but for reference, you can open this page. Yeah. That's because I have a GH pages branch on reactive. And yeah, Julia Lang is hosted in julialang.org, so. Yeah. Yeah, you can have a GH pages branch in all packages on Julia Lang. I mean, in julialang.org.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing about reactive is it helps you represent time varying values as these types, basically. So the most basic such type is input, and all reactive signals have a value at any given time. So you need to start off this input with some value. Okay. So I'm just creating a input signal and calling it X, but for the fun of it, I'm going to call it phase, I guess. Let's see. So the way you subscribe, so the way you get values from the browser to the server side is you do a subscribe. So you subscribe the changes to the slider to this input. So now when I move the slider, the values are actually coming to the Julia side, but we are not doing anything with it. So to do anything with it, you need this function called consume. So consume can consume takes a takes a function and a signal, and oh, I don't know, and returns a new signal basically. So it phase. Okay, there you go. Yay. So any signal of tile is going to get rendered that way. It's going to get updated on its own. So it's pretty magical, but I'm going to explain how it works. So I'll go over this again. You have to get any input from the browser, you have to create an input node. So this is the input node to the signal graph. It's called phase, and then you subscribe your slider or whatever widget you have to the phase, and then consume that signal to create a new signal. So consume used to be called lift. So you can still use lift, but consume is apparently a better name. I mean, I don't even care. So
there is a consume in base Julia, though.
yeah. So this extends it, adds methods to it. So is this clear? How to make like simple slider plus other things? So you can. It need not be plot. You can basically have this create any Escher GUIs. For example, I'm going to say size 2em. That's the width. X into em, 2em, empty, fill color. Oh. So, em is too much. Px maybe. Okay, now I have to qualify because. So we are going to fix this in a couple of days. So I'm working with Daniel to fix this. So why I need to qualify px is because I included Gadfly. Gadfly has its own pixel. We are making like a unified measures package, so that should get fixed. Oh, what? That was pretty dumb.
Shashi, so subscribe is an Escher concept and consume is a reactive concept?
Yes. So subscribe kind of is like a concept in both, from both, I guess, because it has to do with signals. Because the second argument to subscribe is, it's the thing that bridges Escher and reactive, basically. But you can think of it as I don't know. Yeah, Escher concept.
Can you show the code again?
Oh, code is.
No, there.
So when I vary the slider, the width of this box is changing. So the code goes like this. So.
You're going to have to.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, maybe it's super clear to everybody else, but some
okay.
value changes in the widget. Then,
Yes.
And then, so for example, when you subscribe, you take phase. Phase is now an input with a constant signal 0. Does that get trashed? What just happened?
So phase takes the value of the slider now because I'm subscribed to the slider. I mean, the phase is subscribed to the slider, or so to speak.
So when I move the slider, some messaging happens.
Yes.
And phase, the signal is now showing that rather than the constant 0.
Correct. So phase holds the value of the slider basically. And so the consume will convert that signal to another signal, which happens to be a Escher signal, signal of Escher tiles. So it sort of redraws it.
Well, so consume takes a function which takes a signal and returns.
No. Consume takes a function which takes an integer here. That integer is the value of the slider.
How did we unpack from the phase the x?
So every time phase updates, this function will be called with the value that got updated, that came in as the update, basically. So when I move my slider, the phase updates, and this function is called, and the return value is just in line into the VBox. Wherever, in place of this consume, the return, you can imagine the return value being there.
So phase is the second argument to both subscribe and consume.
Yeah.
So that bridges the two.
Yeah. So if I were to draw this out, you can actually schematically represent this. So subscribe widget, comma signal, and the signal is a input node or something, and then here I have a consume f and the signal.
Size is a function that takes a tile and changes its size.
Yes. So it's just So it's taking an empty tile, stretching it to that size, whatever it is, and then filling it with the orange color at the end. So how do I represent this? So what happens is the signal comes from this widget to. So this is a JS event, which triggers a message over the WebSocket, which comes all the way back to the server and updates this signal, which will then come and update this, at which point f is run with a new value, and then the return value is just placed inside the VBox. That's what happens.
And you're going to have signals on XY of the mouse and stuff? That's going to be a lot of communication.
Yes, but there are ways to throttle it and stuff. I haven't implemented it yet, like the XY position stuff. Like hover event is the main thing that I haven't implemented. But there is, so this is sort of a high-level interface to how to extract signals from the browser, but there's like a low-level infrastructure using which you can add arbitrary behaviors to anything, basically.
By pushing custom JavaScript code?
By adding custom HTML elements. So I'm going to talk about it like towards the end. So that's how you make an interactive UI. So there are all these other widgets as well. So that's how it looks. So these can be piped to a Boolean signal, for example. Okay. So now I'm going to show how to make anything clickable. Like this is like the lower level infrastructure of adding event handlers to arbitrary Escher tiles. So let's say I want to count the mouse clicks on some text or whatever. Let me tile. I just make it clickable, and it becomes clickable. Now it's actually, when you click on this, it's raising JavaScript events, but I haven't actually got it to the Escher side, so you're going to have to do that. Or rather, so that's operator abuse, like the triple greater than is synonymous to subscribe. Okay, never mind. I should probably use that here because it's nicer.
Did you put a left button in there to force a typing?
It requires an initial value, and that's why I put a left button. So I'm assuming so clickable by default will only get you left buttons, but you can pass it a list of buttons that you need to be watched for, and then you can have a signal which gets okay, let's actually do that. But then you have to.
When you initialize with the value, does that mean you are forced to simulate one left click? Won't it get consumed when you do a consume? Did we at some point use that 0 or when we subscribe?
Oh yeah. So the first time the UI gets rendered, the initial value is used to render it, and then when you click on it, when the thing changes, it's going to update. Let me just show you what clicks looks like. So that's like left button is just a singleton type, and I'm just showing the string version of the clicks. So now, I didn't add the other buttons here. So if I want to listen to all the other buttons as well, I can go there you go. And so now let's say I want to count the clicks on different buttons. So then what I need is a filter. I need to filter out only the left buttons first, right buttons first, and the middle buttons first, middle buttons as well. So So that would be something like filter Actually, let me just count the number of clicks to begin with, and then I am going to filter it. So to count something, I need like to store the previous state. In functional programming, there is this thing called foldl, this function called foldl. I'm just going to write like the type signature, I guess. It takes an accumulator. Oh, wait. It takes a function, function g or f, which takes 2 arguments, and then it takes an initial value, and then it takes some kind of a collection. In our case, it's a signal. And then what it does is, on every update of the signal, it's going to accumulate some value. So it's going to call f with an accumulator and the update. And then give you back this value. So the value that it gives will become the accumulator for the next update to the signal. So initially it starts with V0, and then it keeps calling this successively. So I'm going to show you, if I show you an example, it's much clearer. Count. So click count equals foldl of, I got this. So this takes like the accumulator and the update itself, and then adds 1 to the accumulator and starts with a 0. And the collection it's working on is clicks. Now if I just show click counts, oh yeah, sorry. So every time I click, it's going to increment the number. So it works for any of the buttons. So I can use the left button as well. So now I want to split them out into 3 different streams: the left button, middle button, and the right button. So I just do a filter on them. I'm just going to abstract this into a function so that I can count all these 3 signals. And then I'm going to say consume bbox What the? I can't see it either. Does that work? Okay, I'm going to explain this, I promise. What? Oh. Shouldn't be. It seems to be calling the wrong fold-L method. Okay, not so much. Oh, wrong filter. Oh, right. So yeah, this code is kind of ugly now. Okay, good. Okay. Okay. It actually works. So let me explain what's going on here. So if you read the reactive documentation and work with this enough, you get like better at this. So what's happening here is I have this input where all my clicks are coming in. It does not matter which mouse button you clicked, because you have asked Escher to watch for all three of them. It's going to update with one of these values, left, right button, or scroll button. And I have this filter over here which works on the clicks signal and then only keeps the left button over here, right button over here, and the scroll button over here. And filter also takes an initial value because the condition might be false for the first update, but we have started with the assumption that all signals have a value at any given time. So the filter needs to have a value, and that's what it's going to get if there are no clicks. There is a constant called no button if you want to have like a sentinel value for nothing has been clicked. So you can just pass that here. And so what this click count is doing is it's folding over any given signal and then counting the number of updates to it. And I'm just showing the updates over here for the 3 different filtered signals. So now if I click on different buttons, it's going to update.
So why did it start with 0?
Which started with 0?
When you
Oh,
read
this.
through this the first time,
Mm-hmm.
you consume click count.
Hmm?
And
So
at that point, it's like a list with one left click in it.
that's right, but this fold-L will take the initial value that you give. It won't update in the beginning. That's how it works. So the initial value you have given to the fold-L is 0, and that's the value of the signal in the beginning of the click count. So the 0 is, it's not clear.
So it suggests that fold-L starts with an. I'm trying to read it, so the way I'm trying to read this is, it should read as though you can think of the signal as being a fixed just list or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm.
we happen to know that it's going to update and it's reactive, but really you could read this as though you had a list. And from what I'm understanding, the list starts with a value in it. And when you fold L on a list with one element in it, it should be ACK plus 1.
Okay, that's like I don't know. So that's sort of. So I guess this fold-L can pick what its initial value is going to be like. That's just the implementation that we have in reactive.jl. So the initial value you give here will be the value of fold-L. This has quite a few advantages. Like we decided upon this because Simon had some issues, and then Simon Danish, who uses this stuff for the OpenGL work. So we decided you can set the initial value this way.
So the initial value is applied when whilst consuming the first element in the signal.
So it won't consume the first element in the signal. That's the whole semantic. So it's going to wait for the next update.
Okay, so your fold-L is not the normal fold-L. It's
Yeah.
the fold-L where whatever the first element is, you.
I can decide the first element
Right.
of the output of the fold-L.
Why does filter have 3 arguments again?
So if the condition is false in the beginning, what value do you put to the signal? So you start out with an assumption that all signals have a value at any given time.
Oh, so it's like a default value.
Yes, yeah, it's a default value. Yeah. Okay, we're back online. Okay, this is like this is how the behavior stuff works. I'm just showing you an example of clickable, but there's stuff like key press and other things. Let me show you a more exciting example of how you can create like a code cell and then have it evaluate and show you the output. What's the time again? Okay. All right, I seem to already have it here. So often you want to do things like have a form, and then you fill out that form, and then click a button, and the entire form's information is sent to the server. The way you do that is with this thing called a sampler in Escher. You start out with a sampler, and then you can watch different widgets for updates. In this case, I'm watching the code mirror for updates with the sampler. And the button acts as the trigger. Okay. And then I'm just showing the value of the input that I'm getting, which is initially a dictionary. Since it's a form sort of interface, I decided a dictionary is a nice way to represent it. So the output you got here is, it tells you what the trigger was, and what the value of the trigger was, and what the code contained. So you can actually name widgets by passing a keyword argument called name. I can call it submit now, and if I submit code, it should say submit. The trigger was the submit, and I could, so by default the values are all underscore code underscore, all the values, the names all start with underscore, so that's how you get to see it. Oh. So the code key in the dictionary is now whatever is inside this. So you can have multiple triggers and multiple things that you watch. So all of them are going to be sent at the same time. Okay. So what else was that? Okay, so I think it's time to explain how this reactive stuff works. So what happens is, where is the chalk? Okay, in this model, so there is the DOM now, and when someone interacts with a widget, user does something, it's going to send a WebSocket message saying this particular signal needs to be updated to this value. That information, we know that we can put it in the browser. So when you say subscribe, it actually returns a. Oh, where is the subscribe stuff? Okay. So when you do this, the subscribe operator actually returns a new clickable element, which has this information saying that now I need to send every update to that particular signal over there, the click signal, for example. So the browser will pick every update and then serialize it and send it back to the server. At the server, the reactive stuff will result in an update, and on every update, it's what Escher does is it will take a difference between the previous update and the current update, and then send only the patches back to the send only the patches back to the DOM, back to the browser where the patches are applied to the actual DOM. So this is sort of efficient, and it lets you preserve state in input widgets. Like if you're typing code inside a code mirror object, and then the UI updated, if the code mirror is redrawn again, there won't be any update to the value field of it, so the contents still remain, so you can continue to type your code.
Can you, I don't know why, but in the case of one widget, I get the flow, but with the code mirror, you had a watch and a
trigger.
What was it called? Sampler.
Yeah.
What's for example, I don't understand why you're using the in place. What are we modifying? What's going on?
We are modifying this, modifying the sampler over there. So what we are doing is we are telling the sampler that add this to my watch list, basically. Add my code mirror thing to my watch list. And if you see here at the end, the form is actually a sample with the sampler and then some element. So it's going to wrap this element, the VBox, inside another a custom element which watches for the triggers to be triggered in the UI. Okay. I'm just.
What is conceptually a sample? It's a thing that lives on the page.
It's a thing that lives on the page. So the sampler is going to.
But it doesn't instantiate it in DOM.
It's basically a DOM node. So it's a custom element. It's invisible, but it goes to the UI. It stays there and basically watches for these triggers to be triggered. And then when that does happen, it's going to take all the watch and trigger values and send it back to the server as a dictionary.
So a trigger will be when the sampler does it, and a watch is one of the things that will be returned? And what is sample?
A sample is just saying that use this sampler and then sample events from this thing over here, this VBox. It's kind of a mouthful, but.
So why do you need to, can't you just connect the sample? Sorry, so in line 12 is where you are connecting the sampler to the input.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So can't you do that without using a sample? So what does sample do in line 12 that?
So sample sample is a way to wrap this thing around and put this sampler in there, basically. It's required.
So you still have editor, right? You have editor and submit, both of which are watched.
That's
so
right.
Editor is watched.
Yeah. But this S thing is what is watching them.
Yeah.
So this is basically a way to encapsulate the events that are bubbling up to be absorbed before they leave this VBox, basically.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to document this in like great detail and crisp language.
So submit is a type.
Submit is a submit is a tile.
It's given to a VBox, so it must be a tile.
Yeah, submit is basically this button.
So submit is basically the button, right?
Yeah.
So trigger returns
the button itself, but with some annotation in it saying that I am the trigger to this sampler. Same with the watch. It returns the code mirror, but with some annotation saying I am being watched by this sampler.
So, okay, so you're creating a little bit of interface that contains an editor and a submit button. You've said that the submit button will generate events for the sampler, and you've said that the editor, its contents will also be, watched by the
Sampler, yeah.
But then you don't commit the VBox to input. You use a function that takes a sampler and a tile and returns a tile that, well, the input is
this,
signals.
Yeah, this.
So when you connect to a signal is always a tile.
Yes.
So sample returns a tile.
Yeah. All of these functions return a tile.
Right. So sample returns a tile. It's like S appears twice, and
Yes, not totally because
S seems kind of to dangle twice.
Yes. So I get the idea that you need to connect the widget to something that is watching it, right? But that thing that is watching it can be connected so that there is a link to all the widgets. So why can't I connect that directly to my signal and flow
So
the signal?
what if you wanted to put this form inside another signal? Like if you wanted to put it in an interactive place, then using this you can actually change the sampler and do other things, and this is basically to preserve the functional nature of the whole thing. So you take, for the same input you get the same output. That's what is happening.
Can't I consume the sample directly? Consume the sampler directly?
You cannot consume the sampler directly. That's the reason the sample is there. You cannot consume the sampler directly, because if you do that, how will you render the sampler? The sampler is actually a DOM element. It needs to go in the browser side.
Okay.
So
then the name sample is probably
yeah, it sucks. Yeah.
Sample seems like it is sampling a signal. But if you're using it to basically render the DOM, then it should be something like one of your DOM-like functions.
Okay, yeah.
Skip or VBox.
I should probably have a hidden function which takes something and puts it in a hidden place.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to change this. So.
Wait, are you saying that what's happening here is that you need that web component to be there, and
yes,
sample basically slaps the. So really, it's just a
way of hiding it in there. Yes. Yeah.
It's not participating in. Okay, it's a VBox, but that the first element doesn't participate in the landing.
Yes.
Or something.
Yeah.
It's pretty much that.
Yeah.
My understanding as well.
Yeah. That's what is happening exactly. So.
Okay.
So.
I have another question. So this triple arrow is the consume operator, right?
Yeah, it's the subscribe operator.
The subscribe operator. Okay, yeah, and when you're consume. Okay, fine.
Okay. So. Okay, we have 20 minutes. So I just wanted to show an example of how this web component thing works. So this is it's a new W3C spec using which you can create your own HTML elements. So Polymer element is a custom element which lets you create more custom elements, and now I'm creating a custom element called ka-tech. So this is acting as a wrapper around a LaTeX package by Khan Academy. That's why it's called ka-tech. So what it's doing is it's slapping this HTML under the hood. and then when the DOM is ready, it's going to call the render function, this dot render, which is basically calling the ktex dot render instead, which renders the LaTeX. Okay, and when the source changes, source is the attribute here. So I can tell what are the attributes to my custom element by just giving this attributes thing. So, and these are like the event handlers for the changed. So when my source changes, I just want to re-render again, and when my block changes, I want to re-render again. So block will basically make it centered and bigger. That's how it works.
So these event names are dynamically generated based on the
Yes.
names.
Yeah. So by Polymer it does it. So now this is a small and tidy HTML element now. So now to create LaTeX thing in the browser, you just say source equals a plus b, and you got to get. So if you do this, if you just do this now, you are going to get the LaTeX rendered nicely. So the nice thing is that this is actually a single DOM node. So you can create an element which is just this DOM node and then send it to the browser, and you have all these nice things happening. All right?
When I create this, if it's the result of a signal and I'm changing the source,
Yes.
you said there's an event for source change.
Yeah.
You also said that you're pushing down what will become the DOM. So it looks like in this case you're actually rewriting where there would have been an event that would have allowed you. You don't get to use source changed because unless when you do the diff you can tell that
Only the
attribute
source.
change, and you
Yes.
actually send just a request to change the attribute,
Yes.
not remake the node.
Yes.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah. So that's
So we're
what
using
makes
this in its most efficient.
correct. Yeah. So it all fits into the virtual DOM infrastructure very well. So for example, so all my event handlers and samplers, things that send messages over the WebSocket, all are custom elements. So when I convert a tile to an element, it's just like adding custom elements to. So I'm going to show the base of it. So there is this base element called reactive-signal, which is just raising an event every time, which has this function called update, and it raises. Yeah, I don't think get this right. Which raises an event called signal-updated, and there is a global event listener which will listen for these updates, and then it will send it over the WebSocket. So that's the base. Now on top of this, I have all these behaviors implemented. For example, if you look at the clickable behavior.
When did you push these things? You only did a push of tech so far as I saw when you started this thing up, but these are in asset.
So this
When you have a whole bunch of little files for the
Right.
functionality of the web components that you need.
Yeah.
But when the thing fired up,
Yeah.
you just push tech.
Yeah, so that's in. So basics is loaded by default, and it pulls all these other things with it. Okay.
You're a heavy adopter of Polymer.
Yeah,
There are
yeah.
a lot of projects that have committed to it like this.
Yeah,
The whole
it's amazing.
infrastructure
So
is components.
Yes.
yeah, so
This
component
is-
all the
I mean,
things.
this is really kind of extreme. Okay.
Okay.
Components, your HTML is short, and then when you diff, it's even shorter. You're just basically sending a couple of bytes over.
So the code mirror you saw is just an element. It's pretty amazing that way.
So if you were doing this in raw HTML, you would be sending huge HTML docs, so it will be different.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So, so this is the clickable behavior, which is just a polymer element, and it has like a name and the buttons that is watching, a list of buttons that is watching. So, and it basically watches the parent, watches its parent for any click event, and when that happens, it's going to call update on itself.
So when you did clickable on that title, you
Yes.
made a web component.
And put it inside the title, basically.
Yeah, and put the title inside it.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
title goes in.
Inside,
It's
yeah.
the,
When you render it, it actually goes inside, but it looks like you're, yeah.
So Shashi writes JavaScript, so the rest of us do it after.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Okay, but I this is why I wanted to know what basic.element is, because I want to read that. Your Escher code will be tutorial for Julia for me, and your web component code is going to be, you know, like a pretty
It's a
advanced usage of Polymer.
yeah.
They really wanted people to make behavior elements,
Mhm.
and it looks like you did all of your signaling that way.
Yeah, that's how it works. So as you can see, the clickable behavior is extending reactive-signal, which is like the base that I showed before. And there are a lot of other behaviors, like the selectable behavior. There's one to watch like the value field of a of a parent, and there is the key press behavior, to which you can say things like I want to watch for control plus enter, shift plus enter, or anything you want, and then it's going to send back a keystroke to the server.
Does sample always take a sampler as its first?
Yes, it does. But
Does
that's a
every
bad name.
element- I mean, let's say there you have multiple, I don't know, you have multiple samplers.
Hmm.
I'm just trying to figure out, you have a thing whose name, what you're really doing is you're building a tile that stores the sampler in it and the rest
Yeah,
is that
yeah,
D-box.
yeah.
But that rest of that stuff, is it required to be only listened to by that sampler, or, because I know what's bugging me.
Oh, yeah.
You're combining structural requirements
Yeah.
with control requirements.
Yeah.
And,
So
and it's a little like what's going on.
okay, I'll show you the thing that happens. So there is this, there is another component which sort of stops events from bubbling outside another element. So by default, it gets inserted everywhere you put a subscribe. Okay, so that you don't have signals from different places coming and updating the same signal. So if you do want it, you can turn it off by saying by calling subscribe with absorb equals false, a keyword argument, which will let it propagate even further. I should have had these examples.
Which you had greater than is just a operator that does the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, great.
So
Yeah,
this makes another. It adds another hidden.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So let me show you the watch. Yeah, so this is the component that gets added to send the signal back to the browser, back to the server. So it just fires another event, signal-transport, and there is a global event listener which, okay. Which will call Escher.send, which is just talking to a WebSocket.
So what's the thing that subscribe generates? It's an element called.
What's the thing that?
You said you put you subscribe takes a tile.
subscribe takes a tile and a signal.
And a signal, and it returns
It returns another tile.
a tile. But this new tile
Contains some annotation which says that any update to this behavior.
But that annotation is a component,
Yes.
right? And that component wraps?
No, it goes inside. It goes inside the other one. Because it's hidden, right? So
Right. So
if
the question is, are the hidden things parents of, or side by side, or where are they?
They're children of.
They're children.
They're children of the thing they modify, but they can stop signal from going outside their parent as well. They just they can do that. They can just say a stop propagation on the event, so that
On their parents.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's like the overview of Escher. I think we are out of time almost.
It'd be nice to see on the little title thing with the clickable title.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess I could do that later.
You want to see the DOM of it?
Yeah, exactly, because it's gonna. You're gonna see the evidence of all of these.
Okay.
Like inspect and then look at them.
Yeah, you can see the evidence. Okay, so there is this. Why are there three of them? Oh yeah, so these are the signal containers for those signals 1, 1, 0. They receive updates, but this is the actual thing, and I have like a clickable behavior inside which watches for clicks, and I have a signal So in JavaScript, the attributes are different from properties. So only attributes show up here. The things I have inside are properties, so they just go become properties of the DOM element, which you can. Yeah, this is the shadow. Yeah. So this is the clickable behavior. This is the signal transport, which is telling I want this signal to, I want this behavior to go back to the server. And then the third one is the stop propagation, which will stop it from bubbling outside the click, the click me thing.
So once I digest the initial value issue with the signals, then this whole thing reads like you ran it once. I think that's the nice thing about these signals, is that implicitly there's a stream, but when you read it, you can read it as though you had a stream, you stopped, and then what's the state?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
that's
these things are basically streams. And so the folding is folding on streams rather than folding on arrays or.
Yeah. It's just that the initial, we're forced to put an initial condition on the signal that that then apparently is magically ignored by making versions of our operators, our functional operators that our maps and folds and stuff that don't take the first element. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you said?
The foldel, the initial value you give as
normal foldel has an initial value.
Yeah.
But what it doesn't ignore. I think I can understand. So a normal foldel is given an initial value.
So
the first, let's say you give me a list with just the number 1 in it and foldel with initial value 0.
Yeah.
When I run foldel and there is that list, the value will be 1. The total value will be 1. But now you have the initial condition left button, but you showed, or you had a click, but it said 0.
Yeah.
I think when you started, and that's what I'm not getting.
So that's just the semantic that we decided to go with,
so
because
it's
a decision.
literally
Yeah.
saying drop the first element.
Yeah. That's what it does. It's actually documented.
Okay.
But if you do not want to drop the first element, you can just assign that to that as the initial value. Simple as that. So if your signal has a value 1 in the beginning, you just put it there.
In what other places did we need to do a change to the semantics of things so that they make sense on signals that have to be initialized?
This is like,
function where you have to.
this is pretty much the only place, and in consume there is a keyword argument called init. If you set that, it will be the initial value instead of the calculated value. So these two things are really helpful. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.